Mama, we got Goth Mommy Ray in the house. Everybody, congratulations on your unlocks, ladies and gentlemen. Getting Darkside Vision Ray unlocked. Now, I want to talk to you just a little bit about how we can mod this girl and how best to use her in the upcoming Grand Arena. Let's do this. Like many of you, I have unlocked my Ray Darkside Vision character at the end of the last version of Conquest. And if you didn't, maybe you should have watched my video guides on how to redbox Conquest. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting that up again in a couple of weeks' time. You better believe it. Now, many of you will have unlocked her and will have been sort of umming and ahhing about how many Omicrons do we need to put on her, what's the best setup, what's the best modding, how high in relic level should I take her up, and I'm here to give you the de facto answer on all this because nobody else's opinion matters but my own. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? Alright, so, now Darkside Vision Ray is a triple Omi, triple Zeta character for the First Order, a massive lifter unit, in particular for Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, but I imagine she's got a few uses outside of that. Now, when we're looking at these Zetas and at these Omicrons, of course not everybody is immediately going to apply all of them. They might not have the resources. What I will tell you right now is that Darkside Vision Ray, yes, this anemic looking, sharp-toothed, dual lightsaber wielding individual deserves all of the love you can give her. Throw everything you can on this girl. Now, with that being said, I will say, if you don't have all the Omis, there is an order that I recommend, alright? The first one I would say is her second unique, In Our Nature. This is the priority Zeta, in my opinion, because this is the Zeta that within Grand Arena gives you that survivability that Supreme Leader Kylo Ren doesn't necessarily need, but it's been lacking, and that's been really hurting his banners. Generally speaking, Kylo Ren can defeat any team in the game, pretty much. But it's always for terrible, terrible banners. He's always losing all of his allies, pretty much with no exceptions, costing you banners. This Omicron should help prevent that. How does it help then? Well, first and foremost, it's going to give you a team-wide invulnerability. You cannot be defeated. Now, you can be hurt. It doesn't stop you from getting hurt, but it stops you from being killed, which includes, if we're reading this correctly, insta-kills. So things like Jedi Master Kenobi will not be able to use Commander Ahsoka Tano to yeet her out. They need to have either taken a turn or been defeated before they can actually hurt you. The entire enemy team does. So when you're looking at a JMK on defense and you're taking your Supreme Leader Kylo Ren on offense, the enemy will essentially go, let's put damage immunity on Commander Ahsoka Tano, and Commander Ahsoka Tano will leap. Now, this can obviously be circumvented when you're taking JMK on offense against Supreme Leader Kylo on defense. That is an entirely different setup, because you can choose to cycle through your turns before you use the insta-kill. But the point stands, if you are taking this on offense versus something like Jedi Master Kenobi, you will be able to survive that opening barrage with no deaths out of the gate. Not only does it prevent you from actually having your units die until the entire enemy has taken a turn or are defeated. Essentially, whenever a First Order ally is inflicted with a debuff, they're going to lose 1% turn meter per turn and gain 1% stacking offense. This is really good for a number of reasons. Primarily because when your characters lose turn meter under Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, they're going to be stacking 10% max health and 10% max protection, making you bulkier, which is just wonderful. The stacking offense, throw that in any Kylo team, and you're talking more and more damage. The next Omicron that I would recommend getting is her second unique. Don't be afraid of who you are. I'm never afraid of being your boy Scribe. So why is this one important? Primarily because this is the one that allows us to ignore taunt. One of the big restricting factors of Supreme Leader Kylo Ren is that he's always stuck behind whoever's taunting. He does great damage, he's got great, capabilities at stunning and reducing mastery and siphoning his own and raising all those stats, but if he gets locked behind a tank, it can stop you from hitting those key units, stops you from being able to do stuff like stunning on Hera Syndulla or stunning Sabine Wren or getting round and taking out Cat, because there's always a taunt in the way. With this, as long as you have advantage, which under Supreme Leader Kylo Ren you pretty much always have advantage, you will be able to ignore taunts, and it applies to all of your First Order allies. Not only that, you've got additional protection recovery while you have Retaliate on your First Order allies that lets them heal up all of their protection based on the damage that they get dealt. So if they get dealt 60,000 damage, they're going to recover 60,000 protection. Really, really good survivability here, especially when paired with In Our Nature, keeping everybody alive just that little bit longer. Not only that, but this also introduces a cooldown reset for the last Omicron ability, which is Malevolent Lineage. This one is so great in general because this one can increase the stacks of Siphon on Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, meaning he's then going to increase his mastery at a higher rate, but it's also an AoE shock, it's also a mass assist, well, kind of a mass assist, so it's just very, very good, and it forces a taunt on your team. So a super, super useful ability. Now, whilst this one is a very good Omi as well, I place it at the bottom of the totem pole because I feel like the use that we get out of her two uniques is more important than this one just yet. So if you have the Omis, I do recommend throwing this on, but save this one till last in my opinion. Now what does this one do? Essentially, it makes the shock undispellable and unresistible. If you defeat an enemy with this ability, they also can't be revived, and when you use it, you strip 100% turn meter from all characters. This is like Moff Gideon's Control the Situation special ability. Everybody has all of their turn meter removed. Now, we've already gone over how that works with her second unique. When that happens, you are going to be becoming more and more tanky in your team, which is just great. Enemies that have got bonus protection, or protection up, or shield up, have their max health and max protection reduced by 20%. Now, I think at this point in time, the only person that has shield up is in the Gungans faction, and if you're using Rey against Gungans, I think you've got bigger issues. But bonus protection, protection up, these are great against so many meta teams. Grandmaster Yoda passing that around on things like Queen Amidala teams. You've got JMK teams just in general passing it out of the wazoo. You've got other teams as well. I think there is bonus protection as well on Ezra teams. So like this is just a lot of stat reducing on the enemy team that makes them easier to defeat. Also, if you have any version of Kylo Ren in the leader slot, First Order allies are going to recover 50% health and protection and gain speed up for 2 turns. So you pair that speed up with the fact that you just stripped everybody's turn meter. Speed up gives you, I think it's 20% additional speed to the whole team. So the likelihood is that your entire team is then going to go right before the enemy team does. So you get a free round of attacks in and you are now tankier. Supreme Leader Kylo Ren enters into his ultimate stance, resets the cooldown, you do it again. More turn meter for your team. More turn meter stripping for your team means more protection and more max health. Tankier and tankier and tankier. More Siphon for Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. More recovery, more speed. It's a wonderful, wonderful setup. So with that being said, that is the order I would go. In Our Nature, Don't Be Afraid of Who You Are, and then finally going in with Malevolent Lineage. They are all worthwhile in my opinion, even though we haven't seen them in action in GAC. Now, modding is the other side of things when it comes to Darkside Vision Rey. How do we want to mod her? What are the options and what are the thresholds? In my experience, I would like to recommend going full speed set and a secondary set for health. You want to try and make her bulky, fast, and if you can put some damage in there, absolutely great. Now, I know that's what I've said, and when you look at my mods here, I'm running offense mods and health sets. You can also run an offensive set because this Malevolent Lineage has the highest damage multiplier in the game. It's a 27 multiplier. Usually a high-end ability is like 3 for a push, you know? So this is really big. The problem is her base stats are very, very low, and she hasn't really got a means of ramping that offense, okay? So even with this offense set, I've got 10.6k offense on her, and that's with some pretty good offense sets. So yeah, we've got the offense set, we've got offense primary, offense primary, offense primary, and then our secondaries over here are all sort of pretty decent offense rolls on them, you know? So this is a heavy investment at Relic 8, ladies and gentlemen. But what you're really looking for is kind of like 100,000 health. 90k is definitely too low, guys. This was something I was testing. You want about 100,000 health as fast as possible. If you can get her over 350 speed, fantastic, okay? And then offense, whatever you can get. I think at Relic 8, her base is around about the 7k mark, essentially. But if you can swap out some of the damage, I personally don't think the damage is all that worthwhile, and I'll explain a little bit about that in a second when we see some of the footage. But there is a call for it. If you've got really good god mods and you've got a lot of relic investment in her, you can probably go for all three. Sort of get for about 340, 350 speed, 100k health, and then everything else into offense. You'll be in a really, really strong spot. But this is god mod tutorials that we're talking about. This is god mod scenarios that we're talking about, okay? Before we go any further then, relic levels. What relic level do I recommend for Darkside Vision Ray? Personally, I have taken her up to relic 8. I did consider relic 9, but honestly, it is a luxury to take her to relic 9. She doesn't need it. She is an attacker. She doesn't really get a massive boost to her stats. It's just something additional extra to make modding a little bit easier, essentially. Lets you skip out a little bit on a little bit of health, skip out a little bit on a little bit of offense in order to, make that a little bit easier and spread your mods a little bit wider. She doesn't need it. But if you're not going up to relic 9, relic 8 is a decent spot. Relic 7, perfectly acceptable. I wouldn't really want to go any lower than relic 7, but you will find some success depending on how developed your roster is and where you are in the game. Not everybody is just going endgame and relic 7, 8, 9ing every single unit that they get, obviously speaking. Now, I would say try to go for at least a relic 7. If you can't, relic 5. Relic 8 is a good spot if you're in a healthy position with a lot of income of signal data and a lot of income from like raiding and TB and stuff like that. Relic 8 is fine. Relic 9 is luxury, guys. She doesn't need it. Trust me, she doesn't need it. It's just fun and bragging rights. It makes the modding process a little bit easier. She's only gaining, as you can see, about 300 offense. So even if you've got 50% additional offense, you're looking at 500-600 additional offense. It's not that big of a deal. Now, one final thing I will say about modding, I know I'm jumping back to it over here, is that when it comes to the bulk, you're looking for health more than protection. The reason I recommend health is because she does gain 100% additional max health if she is in a full first order team. So that means, having, if you went for protection, even though the modifier is higher on protection primaries, getting her to have higher health means that's going to double up. So at 100,000 health, she's going to essentially have 200,000 health at the start of battle before we even start talking about any bonuses from datacrons and stuff like that. In my opinion, health is the way to go over protection on her. So let's go in against this Leia team just to have an idea of how does this operate against a decent team over here. Well, starting with a hand shoots first on Supreme Leader Kylo Ren is never going to be good, but we'll control someone like Drogon at the start of battle. Just let them do their thing. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now we've got a mass assist available, so I could potentially go after someone like Han, but let's just focus directly on Leia right now, get that mass assist in. Yeah, let's turn me to swap over to Kylo Ren. Let's look to... Who shall I siphon here? I think I'll siphon on R2-D2. Do a little bit of extra damage there against Drogon. We'll pass the turn over to Kylo Ren. And let's see. Can't quite focus him down yet. I guess we'll focus on Leia to stop her from building up that ult and that mastery. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Let's get that stun over there on Han Solo. And then I guess we could poke over here on R2-D2. I'm just trying to lock the team down more than anything else. Bit of an AoE here from Darkside Vision Ray. Now, obviously, how this goes right now is going to be completely different in GAC because we will have our Omis active, but the whole team just gets absolutely yeet-skeet deleted. This is no joke. She's still an R9 Leia Organa here, and I guess that the Han Solo is not an ideal person to be using here. Alright, okay, let's just get rid of that retribution, I think. Wonderful. And then a mass assist should see her off. There we go. Leia is gone, officially defeated Mami there using our own Mami Ray. Now, I did have some luck as well taking against GL Ahsoka Tano, who was a little bit on the weaker side. Made a mistake here. Should have really stunned Ezra at the start. Now, I found this to be relatively unreliable, truth be told, because it really is dependent on getting rid of people like Ezra Bridger Exile early, and it worked fine against this R7 one, but I took it against an R9 one. No such luck. Another weird instance here is you use this second special with Mami Ray, targeting Ezra. Slacker still gets called to assist, which shouldn't happen against Ezra Exile, because he can't have calls to assists against him. So I don't know why that works currently. I imagine it's a bug. Knowing it's on GL Ahsoka Tano's team means it's never going to be fixed, because CG just doesn't fix the bugs that are on this team. They just leave them in. That's just a little bit of sarcasm for you there. But ideally, in this sort of setup, and it'll be very different when you're in GAC with all the Omicrons here, if you can take out Ezra Bridger Exile nice and early, it turns into a bit of a walk. Otherwise, you will just be hitting your head against the wall Right now, we don't have that extra level of survivability in this team. We don't have the recovery, we don't have the taunt ignore, none of that business. So it's a little bit harder to see, but if you, like I said, if you can take out Ezra, it makes a huge difference, guys. It makes a huge difference. Once you've taken out Ezra, you do want to try and get around that taunt from GL Ahsoka Tano and then start taking people apart. Now, in Ultimate, I'm trying to focus mostly on raising mastery, but if I do see an opportunity to just do a poke, get rid of that pre-taunt, and start focusing on characters like Padawan Sabine Wren, it is vitally important you get rid of Padawan Sabine Wren, because she will turn around and one-shot one of your characters if you are not prepared for it. So I actually feel it's better to go for the control where you can. That stun from Kylo Ren cannot be resisted, cannot be dispelled, and it cannot miss. So it's very useful in being able to get things like Ezra Bridger Exile out, and for controlling characters like Padawan Sabine Wren. Alright, so she's fun so far, but I want to know your thoughts on Darkside Vision Rey. Are you having fun with her? Have you modded her? What relic levels have you taken up? How many Omicrons? Let me know in the comments section down below. And before you go, make sure you do give this video just a quick like so that I know I've hit the mark on this one. And I will see you all in the very next video. Peace out, and may the Force be with you.